Sapoops, Amos Yee is home, truly, for the first time in 10 years. This is his first podcast after his time skip. Yeah, enjoy.
Sapoops from across the world. Today, we have a very special guest, the enfant terrible himself, Mr. Amos Yee. I cannot believe that we are having this conversation.
Did I give the impression that I wasn't willing to talk and give interviews?
I mean, it's just you're somebody that we see on the news, and we've seen you on the news for the longest of times. Literally, the man himself is frozen in our minds and is now back after a time skip. Do you watch anime, dude? You watched anime, Naruto after a time skip and stuff like that?
I absolutely love anime. My favorite is March Comes In Like a Lion. That's my favorite piece of media ever. Better than any movie or TV show I've seen. And Hunter x Hunter, the best was it seinen? Is that the genre of Naruto? So
seinen is for senior citizens you, with the beard and with the long hair at the moment. So yeah, senior citizen. It's I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. Anyway, so yes, we have Amos Yee after a full-on time skip, guys. And when we say time skip, I mean a lot happened, dude. Let's go through some of the highlights right about now. I think you probably remember some of these things right here. You may remember this.
Lee Kuan Yew is dead, finally. Why hasn't anyone said, fuck yeah, the guy is dead? Lee Kuan Yew was a horrible person. Because everyone is scared.
Everyone is scared. Everyone's afraid that if they say something about him, they'll get into trouble. Yeah. I remember it. Yeah. I remember a lot of the lines, so.
You remember a lot of the lines. Can you recite it verbatim, at this point?
Maybe just to start, because
Sure.
so if Lee Hsien Loong wishes to sue me, I will oblige to dance with him. Come at me, motherfucker. Lee Kuan Yew, contrary to popular belief, was a horrible person and an awful dictator to the country. That's all I can go so far, so.
Okay, cool. I was thinking maybe this was the thing that you were thinking about in prison for the longest of times. I mean it was a thing that launched you into international infamy. I mean there's a whole bunch of this stuff right here which we'll talk about very soon. I don't know if you ever ended up meeting Leon Wang, but he seemed to be a big fan of you. Not sure if that's something that you ever did. But yeah.
Don't know who that is, but I'm glad that he it seemed like he re-uploaded my video. That's good.
That is true. He did re-upload your video. You didn't know about that?
I didn't. But there's no copyright on any of my work. So yeah, feel free to share it, upload it. Hell, if you make money from it, make sure it'd be nice if you at least for me first and give me a bit of royalty. But yeah, you do whatever. I'm not gonna sue you. So
okay, but he might though. I mean, if he cares.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And as also part of the series of flashbacks, I thought you might remember this. Remember this?
Can you kiss me?
Oh yeah.
One kiss don't be so stingy I give you the award, no. Then I take back.
By the way, fun fact for you. So I didn't know that her name was Irene before. I only knew her as Hua Chu Kang's wife. You know what I mean? So I was interesting.
I take back.
And then
Irene, please don't traumatize
That was
him.
a look of disgust, I believe. You must grab them when they are still young,
yeah, how did that moment feel for you? Do you remember what was going through your mind when that happened?
It was sort of a blur because I didn't really you're 13 years old, you don't know what's happening. You got on the stage, got a lot of people saying you're a child prodigy and whatever. But I was really proud of that moment because I think at that time I genuinely made a great video that's still still I think people can enjoy. And yeah, I'm very happy. I think that in terms of I guess my anime arc, so to speak, that was sort of the breakthrough in terms of I figured out that I had some kind of talent and skill in making videos, and the Lee Kuan Yew's finally was just sort of a breakthrough in terms of people knowing who I am. So.
Okay, cool. But the anime arc naturally continues, and we move on into this. You have a full-on MINDEF MHA joint press statement. At the moment, you cannot comment on the details of your case. I don't know if you had your family reunion just yet, but that was something that you said that you were looking forward to. I don't know if that happened, by the way. Did you have a family reunion yet?
That definitely happened. Not with everyone like together, but like I did
Oh,
talk
nice.
to all all of them like individually. At least in my dad's side. My mom's side not yet, so but I'll probably
I
meet
see.
them sometime in a few months.
Interesting. Okay. There were other things as well. You ended up on this list, which is the worst of the worst. This right here. I'm not sure if you knew that there was another person who was added right there.
Yeah.
But for a while, like you were the only person on this list. And here on the page, we see like what actually did happen right there. It says sexual exploitation of a minor. And there were a couple of things that happened along the way. So you had your channel removed, it was restored. That happened also after you were considered like an international hero of freedom of speech. The New Yorker literally wrote about you, and people went out to defend you here and there. Melissa Chen, Vincent Law. Now we are here after you came back from America because you were seeking asylum there in Chicago. And then after the whole pedophilia thing, not something that I can condone, but I'll let you speak a little bit about that a little bit later on. But yeah, so after that happened, then you lost your asylum status, and that's why we are here today for you to carry out your grand plan or something else of that nature. Yep. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay, carry out your grand plan, and you respond to that with exactly. Why?
A lot of the time when you don't really make plans, the plan sort of comes to you. And really just like you could say like 3-4 months ago, I had this idea of like staying in America, and instead of being a political activist, I was seriously considering being like a sort of a mental health doctor of sorts, not like a mainstream one, but like teaching people like spiritual techniques like meditation and prayer and like breathing techniques that work for me, which I thought was like was really successful to me. So I thought, okay, spreading that would be my new goal in life. But it's sort of like but then Trump got into office and ICE detained me. They wouldn't have if, let's say, Trump didn't come into office. And so it seemed like sort of like what actually happened with Israel's prophets. I think actually like Amos from the Bible, where it's sort of okay, you were kind of reluctant to fulfill God's prophecy. You're like reluctant. I can see your reaction. You're like reluctant to fulfill God's prophecy because it's really dangerous, and you're sort of like want this like humble life of stability, and that's what I wanted for a while in America. And but it seems like I've been thrust back into Singapore. And initially, when I realized that there's no because my asylum was terminated because of my felony, and there was really no way to move to another country or stay in the US, I was pretty distraught. But then I realized that, really, I think I can create my largest contribution here in Singapore. And as I said in my live stream, as much as I, for a while, tried to be American and thought I was more American than Singaporean, I really am more Singaporean than American. And because of that, the type of people that I can really resonate with the most effectively are Singaporeans. Wow. So I'm incredibly exhilarated, and also the fact that there is a sort of I do like politics is a mental health doctor. Props to all the spiritualists and the mental health doctor. But I really do think me being a protagonist, a chosen one of sorts, risking their lives for a huge political change, sort of the other great chosen ones of history, like a Gandhi or Jesus. I think it seems like that is more of my alley. So will I reach those heights? I don't know, but we'll see. The story still remains to be seen.
Wow. And you tell a big part of your story on your website, which you insist that the Singapore media has not covered. So then here we have a small shout out for your website. And this is actually kind of interesting because we get a little bit of a picture into your head. But one thing that I found a little bit shocking earlier, and probably why you saw me with the whole bug eyes, was you were mentioning God. And that's something that I do want to talk about a little bit later on. I don't know how much attention you pay to your words sometimes, but sometimes the things that you say can reveal certain things which you may not really be aware of. But okay, fine. So you want to come back to Singapore and you want to make change. You talk about Gandhi, you talk about Jesus, and you talk about a whole bunch of these other people right here. Now, a big part of what you've been talking about is political activism. Why? Why do you want to end or change the quote-unquote 60-year dictatorship? Why is that something that interests you? And why is it the thing that came after you allegedly read 700 books?
Well, I live in service of other people. And, it seems like, okay, throughout my life, it seems like I am exploring different niches. Like when I was young, I was basically, a child actor. I was like making comedy videos. I was, acting in bad Jack Neo movies. And then, and even like in between my, political journey, even after and slightly before I made the infamous Lee Kuan Yew video,
Mhm.
I still sort of like, explore like different genres. Like, what about religion? What about,
Mhm.
self-help stuff? Like, where do my priorities lie? And
Well,
it just sort of.
Can I interrupt you just like for a brief
yeah,
moment?
go ahead.
99% of the people listening to this would not believe that. Like they would not believe that Amos Yee lives for other people. But like, why do you say that you live for other people? The reason I say that is because like when they think, right, of like the Amos Yee, right, that they see on the news, they would think of the person who, well, went out and then from their point of view, or like from society's point of view, selfishly went out there and then got attention right in the middle of Lee Kuan Yew's funeral. They would maybe say, at what point did he serve other people? How do you square that?
I think if you're truly a selfish person, you would just once I got myself arrested, I would just think of myself, not criticize government anymore because it will get me arrested even more, just suck up to them so that I can continue leading a life outside of prison. But the fact is that I still get myself arrested and may or may not try to get myself arrested in the future. And also I've been continuing to make like, videos criticizing the Singapore government, speaking up for poor people, speaking up for any like, discriminated minorities, and speaking up against injustice. I really think that you can't go about it this long. I think I've started talking about Singapore politics for about 5 or 7 or so years, maybe more like 3 or 4 of them, like quote unquote full time. But I don't think you can go about it this long if it's just for selfish reasons. I think that it's really like my like dedication to want to like help others that really I think like makes me have the courage to continue going on.
I see.
Mhm.
Okay, interesting. I was talking to. Have you read Critical Spectator before? Like, do you know what Critical Spectator is?
I am not familiar with that.
Okay, cool. Like, that's basically this Facebook page that more or less writes stuff about Singapore politics. You could say that he is a PAP shill. Michael, I love you. I was chatting with him in relation to the whole political activism thing. So I told him that, like, hey, do you know that Amos has been reading lots of books on political activism? Do you know he's been reading books by Gandhi as well? Do you know what he said to me? No wonder they are both pedophiles. I was like, excuse me.
Hey.
No, but okay. Let me stop shitting on you for a while. But I will say this.
Hey, well, hold on. In defense of Gandhi, yes, he did have like I believe like a sexual attraction when like somebody like was like massaging his feet or something. But there really was no like evidence that he would like forcefully put himself on the person. So like the whole point of my I know like you guys generalize it and say all acts with underage children are bad, but like the distinction I made is that whether it's consensual or not, whether there's actually harm to the person or not. And with Gandhi, that's not there's really no evidence that he would harm that underage child. So
all right, cool. But the reason I raised Gandhi is mainly this. So when you say that you learn about how to organize an effective political movement from Gandhi, so then I'm wondering, right, if you have some specific idea for Singapore that you want to advocate for.
I think I just wrote recently in my blog post that there are 6 political issues that I think are most important, that I think will reach the largest amount of people and also be strong enough to, actually influence votes. It's not like, say, the death penalty and gay rights, where although they are important, I don't think it reaches a large, and I feel like activists on those issues are important. I don't think can reach a large enough reach where can actually swing election. But the important issues, I won't state all of them. It will be a surprise. I'll slowly roll them out. Definitely cost of living. Definitely reducing cost of living. The solution: having a higher tax rate to the rich and ensuring that they pay their taxes. Because, you can essentially get trillions of dollars from those taxes, and you can redistribute the wealth so that, Singapore can get universal health care and even free housing. And poor people won't have to work 10, 12, 14-hour shifts, 5-6 days a week just to be able to survive. That's a really torturous life. And so that's important. And reducing cost of living, that is, I think, the issue that most Singaporeans feel is important. And the opposition, they've been really ineffective in communicating solutions. They complain about it, but they don't provide effective solutions.
Oh.
I'll actually like talk about the issue, criticize them well enough as and also like provide solutions. Another one, of course, is freedom of speech and freedom of expression, because you need the means to criticize and speak up against the government to check them and hold them accountable. And the fact is that I and many opposition leaders have been arrested for simply exercising our
I
free
and many opposition leaders. Do you identify yourself as like a leader of opposition, or like would you say just like leaders of opposition in Singapore in general?
I mean, more accurate is just like opposition politicians and activists, just people against the PAP.
I see.
So what's like why freedom of expression is important. And also like the basic the basic thing that every democratic society right now has, the freedom to conduct a public protest, that is illegal in Singapore, which is absolutely ridiculous. That is a very important way to effect political change. And obviously, I think the government knows that, which is why they make it illegal. And so, that's an important issue. And other important issues, one of them may or may not be related to my case and me getting in prison for escaping national service. So there you go.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So on a couple of points, I mean, like on the cost of living, an economist might say that, hey, if you raise taxes too high, then companies aren't going to show up in Singapore. Then you wouldn't have rich people. Then you wouldn't have money to distribute to the people in the first place. So then you wouldn't be able to solve the cost of living problem, and Singapore would become a white elephant. Like it will be the shining city on the hill, but nobody would be living there. If we say freedom of speech, then critical spectator might say, do you know that Singapore is actually super free and that POFMA is one of the greatest laws of all time? And then in terms of freedom to conduct a public protest, I mean, that's an interesting one. But I remember actually reading like one of your blog posts, right? You said that you hope for 10 people to protest in public when you come back home to Singapore, and it will be the biggest public protest of all time. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found it interesting. You might be
it would be the biggest if we just get 10 people to go out and protest for me, it'll literally be the biggest protest that Singapore has had in 50, 60 years. So
really? Okay, interesting. I might have to contradict you there though, because I remember actually this. So there were 3 women who were charged with organizing a procession to the Istana in support of the Palestinian cause. And then if we count the number of people right here, so is that 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm sorry, Amos, that doesn't work anymore.
Wait, when did this happen?
So this actually happened February the 2nd. So I'm sorry, you have to compete with the Palestine protesters. So so unfortunately.
Wait, how many of them got protested and got arrested?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, wait, hold up. So it says a group of about 70 people had assembled along Orchard Road. I'm sorry. Maybe you just didn't know, but maybe the society that you were living in all this while has actually transformed. The title of the podcast actually is "This Is Home?" ? And it's inspired by that song sung by Kit Chan, the one that goes "This is home, truly, where I know I must be. God damn,
where dreams made. Yeah, there you go.
You do. Interesting, because I wonder how much you actually do know about your home, despite the fact that you identify with being Singaporean. I don't know, it's sort of a question. How much do you know about Singapore actually? I mean, if you were to really objectively no bullshit, really think about the society that you're living in kind of thing. So we have some kinds of superficial impressions. I remember very distinctly, right? The international media, when they were covering your case, right? They were saying, hey, do you know that he's a hero? Do you know that Singapore is a repressive society? It's horrible. Do you know that they will sue you until your pants drop? And do you know that in Singapore, some people might even say that people cannot afford pants because things are so freaking expensive right there. So then this is so horrible. I really wonder, right? If we go down to the bare bones, how much do you know about Singapore on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 to 10, how would you rate your knowledge of Singapore?
1 to 10. I'll definitely say that
1 to 100. I don't know, 1 to 100.
In terms of 6, 7, though I could see people thinking that it's a 3 or a 8 or a 9.
Wait, sorry,
depending on
like
how you define that question.
6 to 7 out of like 100, 6 to 7 out of 100. Like,
I mean, like 60 out of 100, 60
okay,
or 70, I guess. Sure.
okay,
But
fine.
yeah, it really did. I guess it really depends on how you define knowing.
Okay.
Because in terms of actually like news like that whole Palestine protest, which wow, yeah, it's great that wow. Although not for specifically a Singaporean topic, I'm glad that somebody in Singapore actually like protested, and it seemed like 70 people, so that's great. Hopefully, there'll be a protest against the Singapore political issue, and it'll be like hundreds. That'll be amazing. But in terms of actual like recent news, it's not like you can get like news on Singapore while in American prison. There's no avenue for that because Singapore isn't like really big international news. And so really I didn't even know that Lawrence Wong became a prime minister until like 2 or 3 years into his prime ministership. And in terms of like, there are many things that I still want to know about Singapore. Like, I would love to. I only know, like, conceptually, a lot of HDBs are really small. They're really hot. A lot of people can't, I believe, like, can't afford air conditioning. I want to go to, like, a poor person's HDB, really talk to them and find out, like, what their lifestyle is like. I think I have a hunch that, and because really, I think really to get to actually like talk to them instead of just like knowing conceptually that I should like support poor people, and also the fact that like I am essentially growing up, and even right now, I'm like essentially a nerd. You spend a lot of time watching movies, watching anime, being cooped up in a room using the internet. And so very regrettably, I didn't spend a lot of time while I was in Singapore, like really just talking to Singaporeans, like asking about their lives, what they're actually doing, how much they're getting paid, what are they concerned with. And so right now I'm hoping to catch up on it.
Walao, very good leh, this Gina. Wow, you want to mark then later you can go JC, and then later you can go A levels. Then after that you can ask RJC to go and special admit you so that you can go sing When Stanford Raffles Held the Torch That Cast Promethean Flame. That kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. Like I think a lot of Singaporeans, they're like that, where because the educational system doesn't really like promote social skills and being a good person and interacting. Although they don't directly say that's not important, they might even say it is important. But like it's not like they really like praise you for it the way that they praise you for being good in like useless academic subjects in a school. So
have you been in an education system recently that you can comment on what it's like in the education system though in Singapore? I don't know.
I mean, the most recent educational system I was in Singapore's educational system. I don't believe it really has changed much, right?
You'd be surprised. I mean, like it's been more than 10 years, Amos. I mean, like time passes.
I think like they changed the names instead of like what normal academic, normal tech is like what something like 1, 2, 3 G1 or something. And it's like it's just a rebranding. I don't know what difference does it make. I think people still discriminate others because like bad exam results. I think we're the only country that like instead of race or religion, we discriminate people based on exam results. And it's like you really and it's just a really toxic environment because like you shouldn't base your life on that. It won't bring you fulfillment even if you're good at it. And it's just you become very bitter.
I mean, some people might say, like rather cry tears in a Lamborghini than on a PMD, which I don't know. Like are PMDs even legal in Singapore nowadays? I don't know. But okay, I mean like sure, it's part of that whole critique of like a materialistic society and a whole bunch of other things like that. Yeah, I thought that you might find something interesting by the way. Like you mentioned air conditioning earlier. All right, you're gonna love this or you're gonna hate it. I don't know which one it's gonna be, but let's see.
Go ahead.
Let's see. All right. So do you know that Lee Kuan Yew thought that air conditioning was the secret to his country's success? This is what it is. I'm sorry, but like he thought. I
didn't know like
civilization. Yeah, like no, he actually this was the thing, and like it was such a popular article that they made it a paid article. That's so sad. People love this article.
I definitely knew that he had this quote where like he said like air conditioning was the greatest invention in human history. Yeah. I didn't know if it was completely serious, but I guess he was.
Well, I mean, like his whole point of view is that like human beings have like a certain range of temperatures in which like they are productive, and like he basically said that like it was so important, and without air conditioning, then development could never have happened in the tropics. And I'm sorry to say this, but like I am a Lee Kuan Yew fanboy. Like I know that it's weird, right? Like kid in Malaysia, just like casually doing this right here. I have this as well. You know, I've read these like more than 4, 5 times kind of thing. By the way,
I see.
I also have right here this book that I wrote, which I'll send a copy of to you a little bit later on. I don't know if you want to see this guy's face, but like it's a thing, yeah.
I see. I see. Wow. Lee Kuan Yew fanboy. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You can like gossip about me a little bit later on. Just be all like, yeah, this weird guy like in the podcast right here, yeah, like he's yeah, I don't know. Like you decide. Freedom of speech, freedom of speech.
Definitely.
But,
Definitely.
but,
Definitely.
but, okay, this is kind of fun, right? Because to criticize something, right? Like the thing that you criticize, right, must be bad in your estimation. But with the whole like glitter, the glitz that like Singapore is, like you can see actually like a couple of like small things right here, which I've compiled. So for one thing, people from my country want to go to your country. Number two, you are the third happiest city. Like you said that it was one of the most depressing places on earth, but it is apparently ranked the world's third happiest city. And it is also, at the moment, like the place with the highest HISA scores. Do you know that your Singapore students outperform their peers around the world in creative thinking? Do you know that you also ended up with better, positive classroom and social environments that foster creative thinking? Do you know that the PISA is an international ranking that you cannot actually like go out and like fight against to the point of, you know, like just saying like, hey, like I'm gonna pay you like $5, you know, like can you give me like a little leg up on like the ranking right there? Yeah. So then I remember also that like PISA top score Singapore, like it's the in various ways, right? Like top in so like top global ranking in mathematics, reading, and science, and in creative thinking. I don't know, like when you see that. So like, how do you feel? Like, did you know that was?
Are you Malaysian?
Am I Malaysian? I don't know. Like, what do you?
I okay. Yeah, I mean, I think even the PAP supporters, nobody is going to say that Singaporeans have creative thinking. I'm sorry. Like the government does their best to try to like create some semblance of an art scene, and it's just like notoriously like terrible. Like just Singaporeans just can't create art that has some kind of like international recognition.
Okay.
So I think it's sort of like you'd have to see like the methodologies of like the specific like how they define creative thinking, which is sort of like you would say more of like a there's a subjective like metric to how do you really define that, and also happiness as well. But like I am aware that like in terms of the happiness, there are like some polls where it says okay, Singapore is actually one of the happiest. I believe like Roy Ng actually like looked at a lot of those polls. I believe yes.
You mean like Roy Ng, right?
Around.
Is his name like
Roy
Ng? Ngern? Ngern?
Yeah, Roy Ng, the CPF CPF right back Roy.
Okay.
He was famous like a few years before me. But I believe he looked at a lot of polls, and there are some polls which says that Singapore is happiest, while a lot of them saying that okay, it's like the bottom in terms of like first world countries. And so with a mix of like seeing those polls and like my own personal experience and like hearing the voices of Singaporeans, I think that okay, definitely in terms of like the first world country, like Singapore is definitely like one of the most depressed. And it's just the reason is because it's a society where okay, you just work, you're just basically a robot. You don't have humans with a unique creative expression, creative thinking, creative thoughts, unique ideas, dreams. Instead, you just okay. People, they lead their lives like, okay, how am I going to make money? I make enough money. I just stick to this job. Don't want to do anything risky. And that will be my entire life. And it's incredibly dehumanizing because I think that naturally we all want to fulfill our highest potential and be creative and express our full self. Sure. And Singapore culture just doesn't enable that. It's all about function and not about human worth. No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I find that interesting though, because like the way that you're describing it, it sounds like mechanical, like like almost dead kind of thing. But at the same time, right? Like you said that like when you went out into the streets of Singapore, right? Like you didn't like die or anything. Like nobody like went out there and then like just like beat you up. Like that one guy who like went up to you one time and like slapped you. Oh, that actually kind of hurt. Slapped you like at the near the outside of the courtroom kind of thing right there. And you said that you were received with like warmth and like it was actually like a nice experience, right? So like I don't know, like it's kind of interesting for you to say that. But okay, so like last couple of
Okay, I have like a small comment that like the people who came up to me, they were warm.
They
The
were warm.
people around, I will still say that okay, probably majority of like Singaporeans still don't like me. So yeah, although the people come up to me are nice, the people around who like give like stares of disapproval, they're you wouldn't say they're like that nice, although yeah, they're not violent. But in terms of just like the atmosphere, I was like in Bishan recently, and it's depression central, man. It's like I think like places like older places like Clementi or whatever, it's sort of all right, like they're retired, it's a little bit more bustling. But like Bishan is like there's I think less old people, and it's just like the worst parts of young people, where a lot of them are just on their phones, a lot of them are just going through, and like really like the area that showed the most personality were people who were just like smoking and relaxing. But a lot of them were just like sort of just like moving along, heads down, using their phones. And it was a very cold and depressing atmosphere.
Cool, depressing atmosphere. I see. Interesting. And I will show the last two things that I did have before diving into this very interesting discussion right over here. You have, amongst other things, the world's best airport for the 14th time, if I'm not wrong. And you have also like a very, very high GDP per capita. Now, this is something that, of course, like you have talked about, about how like the society is like extremely materialistic and stuff like that. But along the way, right, so I'm curious, when people criticize something and like they try to get people to their cause, right? So then it's presumably with the intent of like creating some sort of change. Now, here's something that I heard, right? From so like it's apocryphally something that I would attribute to the Singapore Ministry of Education, but like it sounds something like this: you cannot give to people what you do not already have. Meaning that like if you want to teach somebody to be successful, then you have to be successful yourself. If you want people to be in a good headspace or like happy, then you need to be happy yourself. If you want people to have the ability to have warmth around them, then like you must have warmth. But how will you go around convincing the world that you, Amos, who were on the worst of the worst list, you were convicted in the US, you spent time in prison, you were basically the enfant terrible. If we go on ChatGPT, have you ever tried like looking yourself up on ChatGPT, dude? Like it's fascinating. Like it's yeah, okay. Like let me show you the ChatGPT prompt that I constructed, like featuring you. Talk to me about the different incidents that Amos Yee went through, including Vincent Law, whom you said molested you, if I'm not wrong. So then like, do you know that ChatGPT talked for like 6 minutes and 30 seconds? This is the longest time that like I've seen actually like ChatGPT go right ahead and like go on like this. So you have this right there. So then there was the bail. Then there was the Christian family and youth counselor. So then supported this, you reached bail conditions. Let's hope that didn't happen in this conversation. And then you were slapped. And then this happened right here. Yeah, there was a whole incident. He demanded an unreserved apology for the molestation claim. And yeah, like all of this stuff, there's a whole full-on like collapse.
Yeah.
Right? You went through like the highest peak, man, but then you fell. You freaking fell down to the ground. Like it was not like a meteor. It was like basically like I don't even know. It was like bird poop. Like there was an eagle up in the sky. And then like, like that poem, the one that goes like 庄子, like I thought that I was a butterfly, but then the butterfly was me kind of thing right there. Yeah, like it could be that like you thought that you were the eagle, but actually you were the poop. This is what's happening right here. And now, like there's this full on like story. You are here, like you're in Singapore now. Like this is like the phase of like your grand plan. And like when we say grand plan right there, I'm like citing amosyee.org, where your writing are meant to be. I mean like and yeah, like you've got this right here, which is yeah, I mean but anyway. So then you said basically that you shouldn't let me back into Singapore, but you also say that your plan is to go back to Singapore. So then how are you going to accomplish your plan? Like how are you going to get people to believe in the Amos Yee? How will you get them to think that you can give what you have when they do not believe that you have those things?
Yeah, I'll briefly touch on your point before, and it does relate to this question. In terms of, okay, seeing me as a complete failure, it really depends on how you judge a person. Like the typical Singaporean standards, yes, I am a complete failure. But I don't think you should be judged on that. People judge you based on, okay, your education level, your economic worth. Do you have like a good job? Are you not in prison, or because people my age, I think they were about to get married, they're about to get like their own HDB, whereas me, I don't have any of that. But I think that if instead of that, judging people based on that, just material, like transient stuff that I don't really think like brings you long-term happiness, and actually judge you based on religion, the religious ideal, where really, okay, happiness comes not really from external things, material stuff like HDBs, money, or even family. It really just comes from within. And in that case, I think I have been a tremendous success. You could say reputationally, I was like at the peak when I was, a human rights activist or whatever. But I remember myself at the time completely unhinged, rude to people. People just talked to me because I think they were sort of opportunistic. They wanted to like push their opposition agenda. But I really didn't deserve to be talked to because I was just like a really unlikable, bitter person, largely because of the educational system and being arrested like a million times, as a kid while in Singapore. And so suffer from anxiety, depression, and narcissism was bad within. 10 years later, I cultivated good habits, meditation, prayer, yoga, exercise, and I've been like in many years of prison. And not only do I not feel like depressed or anxious or vindictive, I actually felt like I really thrived in that environment. And I felt that I came out happy. And I think that's important because like people, they can't even like imagine themselves going like a day in prison. Like they can't even imagine themselves going like 16 hours without a phone. So I think that is most important, that with all this shit that happened to me, I think I came out happy. And I think that's a tremendous success. And I think in terms of, if you judge it based on like the religious standards, the teachings of like Jesus, Gandhi, or Muhammad, I have done extremely well. And I think if your standards, I think, align with what is really good, I think people might see me as a good enough example. And in terms of, creating an effective political change, one of, if not the biggest factors to political success I learned from Gandhi is that political success is contingent on your quality of character. That I completely neglected, and that I think a lot of other people also neglect. You got like 100 years ago, or people who wants like a left-wing revolution, cheating on their wives and drink, being alcoholics. And so because really like your quality of character, not only will that draw people to you, but also it's important to. It's much easier to change yourself than to change other people. And you need to change yourself before you can change other people. And also, like, for a practical perspective, like, I'll give you an example of the Montgomery bus boycott for, like, fighting for black voting rights in the United States. Rosa Parks was not the first person to, refuse to sit on the bus. There were many other people who did it, but they were, they had, like, questionable personality issues. They were like, one of them were like, I think like prematurely pregnant. Another one was like kind of rude to the police. But Rosa Parks, nice demeanor, respected person. That's when people were drawn to that protest. And so putting like political theory and political activism aside, instead of working on self-help and myself while in prison, I thought that was extremely transformative. And I think that is the key to political success. But in terms of like, if you want direct actions, public protests, especially, and I know it's illegal in Singapore, especially because it's illegal, it'll be extremely important because voluntarily letting yourself suffer and showing people that you're suffering, that you are determined and strong enough to risk your life for a political cause, will change the hearts and minds of people who otherwise wouldn't care. It happened with Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Mandela, who did make sure it's nonviolent, who they definitely were baiting the government to arrest them, where they were like sort of happy, like, they arrested me. The news media is talking about it. They definitely had that mindset, and that is why they were effective. This consistent willingness to go to prison, to risk their lives, to show their dedication to the cause. And I didn't know specifically that was what I should try to do. I didn't know much about the importance of nonviolent political protest 10 years ago, or is it enough for me to just criticize the government online, legal or not? Now I have a better idea specifically what to do, and I'm very excited to carry it out.
I see. So you want to get arrested amongst other things?
May or may not be for this case, though that might be a plan in the future.
There might be a plan in the future. Okay, cool.
Yes, it will be, I believe, 8th, 9th time I'm getting arrested. So
see. Okay.
America and Singapore combined. So
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, you did say that the reason you're choosing to go back is not about your safety, it's not about yourself, it's about providing value to people's lives. Both from your political writing and your willingness to be arrested to protest unjust laws, you think that you contribute the most to the world by working in Singapore. Now, I have a small question in relation to that, and it's kind of like also kind of related to the elephant in the room right here. Do you feel that maybe the whole defending pedophilia thing is going to maybe like decrease public sympathy towards you? Do you feel that like in some way, shape, or form that like you'd be able to actually get people to like unite behind the cause that is Amos, given that this is a thing, right? Like you could like argue it, you could like, I don't know, like slice up the turkey in like 100 different ways, make turkey sushi if you want or something like that. But like the vast majority of people are not going to be thinking that like pedophilia is like a thing. And unless of course like, you know, you can like square the circle or, you know, like something like that, you know, like maybe you're that like once in a generation, like Gandhi, Jesus, Lee Kuan Yew. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, yeah, like, I don't know. Do you feel that maybe like that's going to stop you from like accomplishing your goal or something like that?
Of course, pedophilia reduces public sympathy for me in the short term, but I feel like it will be the next big civil rights protest. The next big civil rights movement internationally. It was gay rights like 15 years ago, then it was transgender rights. Pedophilia, I think, will be next because it's just an extremely large amount of people, and I believe, like estimates say that there's as many gays as there are pedophiles, and also they're the most discriminated group of people right now. And so really, I'm counting on like my international friends to make that movement effective, so that I will be vindicated. But yes, of course, from how taboo the topic is, even let's say, okay, it is never accepted in my lifetime. From how taboo the topic is, obviously it reduces like public sympathy towards me. Many people have disassociated me because of it. But obviously, if I didn't think I had a chance to overcome that, and where people will either, start agreeing with me on pedophilia, or they would just like, put that aside and agree with me on the other issues I'm criticizing Singapore about. If I didn't think I was able to do that and carry out my grand plan of like political protests and the Singapore Revolution, I wouldn't be continue doing this. If I think it's impossible, I'll resign. I'm not the kind of person where chess, I got no more pieces, and then I still like continue playing, hoping that he'll tie. No, I'll just resign. So if it ever feels like it's too impossible, I will definitely just give up. But I feel like it's incredibly possible, and really Singapore is not worse than India during Gandhi's time in like the 1930s and 40s, or Africa, I think, in Nelson Mandela, when fortunately or unfortunately, I don't think the dictatorship right now would like put me to 27 years straight, in prison like Mandela. Although they did put Chow Tai Po 32 years straight back in the 60s, but yeah, I won't have the luxury and the grandeur of going to prison for that long, and which kind of shows that it's a reflection that society is bad, but not that bad. I think it's completely realistic that there will be a Singapore Revolution. And if I'm not successful, some other Singaporean will be.
Okay, let's kind of like vibe on that idea of like bad but not that bad. So like right now you're living in Singapore, right? So then you'll be in Singapore for the foreseeable future. Now, we know that a person has like lots of possible life paths, right? So then some people might say that, Amos, Singapore not that bad lah. Come on lah, we are such a successful country, shining red dot on the hill. We are so amazing, that kind of thing. And you have to admit that like there are some things that Singapore has got going for it. Like for example, like the whole fact that people have this culture of materialism, partly because people actually want to live in your country. Like the Singapore passport is powerful. People trust the leaders, like whether you might think that they deserve trust or not. They are willing to set up global headquarters in Singapore. They want to create headquarters in Singapore because they feel that that is basically where the action actually is. So then you've described Singapore as a dictatorship in the past, right? But when you look around you and the environment, when you walk around, I don't know, like, is it really that bad? And
it feels
also, would it be so bad for you to live a quote unquote normal life in Singapore? I mean, like, if you think about it, like, you talk about like political activism, right? But like, it's not like you're bound to that choice. It's not like, I don't know, like the hand of God itself, like basically like grab you by the neck and like slap you on the face like twice or three times and said, Amos, Amos, you have to be a political activist. But I mean, like, no, that didn't happen. So like, you have the choice, right? No.
The normal Singapore life that I led for like the first like 16 years of my life caused me like anxiety, depression, just a completely bitter to other people. And I wasn't like, like a discriminated like the other like normal tech or normal academic students. I think they would probably experience even worse. I was like a above average student, not the best, but like 244 L1 R511. So and that was the product and of the normal Singapore life, and then the unnormal Singapore life that everybody treats as a failure. Going to prison a million times for like pedophilia and like criticizing Lee Kuan Yew, all very noble causes. All of that in that span of that like 10 plus years I've been in prison. Very healthy, very happy. The prison experience was worse than the normal Singapore experience to me. And I think if they had the correct mindset, probably to many other people. And so like, okay, the people who say that, oh, Singapore is, not that good. I'm happy. What's wrong? It feels like that time when I was 16 when I was like experiencing depression and I kept on like telling people and announcing my videos, I'm happy. I'm happy. And I think it's really because they've never experienced what happiness is. They don't even know what like that they're sad because it's like they're just so used to the emotion. They think, okay, that's just how people regularly feel. And so I encourage people to, actually explore other countries. Like other countries that, if you compare it to other countries in Southeast Asia, like, Philippines and Malaysia, and Singapore is much better than them. Like, in Singapore, you only get sent 1 year for consuming drugs, which is already like way more because in the US, you only get probation or like a few weeks. And in the Philippines, I believe Turkey is still in power. I think I don't know if they still have like the death squads where, they literally shoot you on the streets. So Malaysia and Singapore suck less than Malaysia and the Philippines. But compared to an actual like good first world country, like a European country where people don't have to worry about their health care, where they can just work 6 hours a day and like 4 or 5 days a week and be and explore their other like dreams and whatever they want in their spare time, a much more relaxing, a much more happier life. I think once you've had like even just a sense of happiness, of genuine happiness, of not relying on material stuff but focusing your life more on spiritual development or like your relationships, genuine relationships, then you sort of think, really fucking screwed over as a Singaporean. I've been lied to as a Singaporean.
Well, it's funny actually that you mentioned that because you were inspired by Gandhi, right? So then I have a bit of a Gandhi quote for you. It may not actually have been a quote by Gandhi, but it goes, "Be the change you want to be in this world." So we look at this right here, right? And we kind of like think about past Amos Yee for a bit, kind of like flashback a little bit right there. Yes, that's right. Like kissing Irene, like at that moment, as it kind of like replays like the little highlight reel, and like the whole like timeline right there, talking to this person, that's your mom, and that's your dad, presumably right there. I mean, people remember you as like that archetypal, like talented kid. Like there's nobody that would dispute like your youth time potential. And in that way, like you did chart a path for yourself, like in society, right? And you were famous for it. Like the state basically gave you like accolades for that. So then would it be so bad to go back to that life, to make a Jan 2.0 or something? Or like, I don't know, like to hit up that good old Jack Neo again and then be all like, hey, you want to collaborate on Xiao Hai Pu Pen 15? I'm no longer a Xiao Hai. So like, I think that I might still be a bit pen, at least according to like some people out there.
Excuse me?
Do you know Chinese?
我可以讲华文啊，不太好，可是
Okay,
可以
cool.
跟别人沟通。
Do you know what 小孩不笨 means?
Yeah, children not stupid.
Yeah, okay, great. Fine. So like, you can say like, Jack 哥哥，我现在不笨了，你请我的话，then then I will do my very best. That kind of thing. I
Oh
don't know.
man.
Like, so I don't know, like when we say like what a normal life is, right? So like there is still like this diversity like within like our world. It's not just studying, right? Like even in Singapore, like you still have people who are like successful. There are like DJs like Jade Rasif,
Yeah.
like she's successful. I mean, like she did do well for school, but I don't know if like that's actually connected to her actually being successful in the modern age. You have like, I don't know, like Zaki, who is one of my favorite SCAG influencers. And then you also have somewhat now disgraced Sneaky Sushi, who was one of my favorite Singaporean YouTubers, Benjamin Kings kind of thing. I don't know. Like, so yeah, I mean, like, could that possibly be a pathway that you might want to go on at some later point? Something that's not like on the level of like, let's go crazy political, but like it's sort of like normal, but it's also like not normal as well.
I'll say that like if I'm in like an actor for like bad Jack Neo movies, like it's just a Jack Neo movie. I don't think there's really a good Jack Neo movie. So if I'm like an actor for that, and that's my like life's legacy, I'll definitely be miserable. But okay, like put that aside. If let's say I continue making like nice like comedic videos like Jan 2.0 or like how to speak Singlish. I think a lot of people say, oh, I wish you made videos like that again. Comedians are important, and as I said, I want to be like a mental health doctor. Just like a few months ago, and those are important, and which is why I stress and I'm all for like people doing that in their lives if that is the biggest contribution that they can get. I'm not gonna say that political activist is more successful than like a sportsman. I don't believe that at all. I believe that like excellence in one area translates to excellence in another, and really like an athlete can be if not more influential than a politician. So I think really it just depends on as I said, like leading your life, thinking what can you personally contribute the most to? How do you help people the most? And yes, I can, probably provide a, contribution to society as like a comedian or like a mental health doctor. But just that after exploring, it really seems like political activism is really like what I'm most, where I can provide most of my value to. And because of that, I think that's what I will be best at. Creating content, blog posts and videos, and maybe even like networking and transitioning to networking and organizing public protests. I think that is where my path is. Though I will say, historically, I keep on like flip-flopping and changing, so maybe I might change to something else after a few years or 10 years, whatever. Hopefully, like I stick to this. So I really do think that this is a very noble, good effort.
I mean, like, who knows, right? I mean, like, there was once a DVD seller, or rather, like, pirated video game, like, a seller who was in a mall that I used to go to, like, 5 ringgit, 150 Sing dollar per hour kind of thing right there. I would, like, play the video games, and he would just stare at me with his dead fish eye all the time, just stare at me with these dead fish eyes. 10 years later, I saw this man for the same time, the same dead fish eyes, but he was this time wearing a blue shirt. His blonde hair was now black, and he had a freaking briefcase in his hand. The man had gone corporate. For all we know, like, the next time I see you, you could be working at JP Morgan or something crazy. But anyway, you never know how people change. But having said that, okay, now I want to touch on like, and this is going to be like my penultimate question, like second last. But yeah, like it has something to do with like your live stream, right? So you said this at the 30th minute, if I'm not wrong. So then, like, you said this right there. Let's
consistently.
Are you the kind of person, by the way, who finds it like weird sometimes, like when you listen to your own voice?
No. I watch my videos again all the time. So.
Oh, okay, I see.
I think instead of like me trying to explicitly find the girlfriend, I think I'm just content with just the girl just stumbling upon me as I continue my journey. Maybe they'll send me an email, or I don't know, I'll meet her in like some way or fashion, maybe in church or something.
Bro, in church or something. Amos Yee. Like, the man who associated Lee Kuan Yew with being Jesus and mocked every single religion. You mock, like, Christianity, you mock Islam, you mock, like, this and that, and you got, like, prosecuted under, like, relevant laws. And, like, I don't even know if, like, MRHA was, like, designed, like, after you, like, went out there and insulted all those, like, religions right there. But, like, church. So, like, you're interested in going to church?
I've already gone to church. I've went to Free Community Church. It's a gay church.
Oh.
Shout outs to Amos Yee and that church. And like first impressions, it is pretty damn good. Pretty damn good.
Wait. So
like literally yesterday, I went to church, Free Community Church, which is a gay church. They call it queer affirming church, which is basically a gay church. So
okay, that okay.
It's a Christian church.
There are like two questions here. Okay, so
Okay.
then like one of them is like just like a logic question. The logic question is, how are you gonna get a girl to find you in a gay church?
What are you talking about? They're bisexuals.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see. Well, that
Yeah.
concept is just like it's not the thing in like where okay, fine. Sure, that makes sense. And the second question I have is like, do you believe in the things that like I don't know, like Christians believe? I mean, like there's Easter coming up, right? So then like
Huh?
there's the whole like Palm Sunday thing, celebration, procession into Jerusalem and stuff like that. And then eventually then there's like the whole like, well, risen again thing right there. But like do you believe in those things, or like is it more of like I don't know, like it's a social experience, like let's hang out kind of?
I don't know specifically like the significance of Palm Sunday and Easter. I will say that like while I was in prison, I think they always show like a 1950s movie, The Ten Commandments, and like I think every single like for about 3 years I watched it, the story of Moses. I mean like a 2.5 hour movie. It's
Okay.
awesome. I think younger generations find it boring, but I thought it was awesome, and that was like my Easter tradition. Yeah, my views have evolved on religion has definitely evolved. And just to be clear though, like the government prosecuted me for criticizing Lee Kuan Yew because I was speaking up for the poor and against a religion. But on paper, it seems like it's because of like criticizing religion, and those were my specific charges. But really, it's because they were using that as an excuse to just arrest me. Because criticizing religion is less. People will not support you as much than if you criticize a politician. So there's that. But yeah, my views at the time when I made the Lee Kuan Yew video, I was definitely like an atheist. I definitely said that I criticized religion. I compared Lee Kuan Yew to Jesus because I thought Jesus was a bad person. But my views on religion have definitely evolved. And I think that even though, I consider myself, I'm like Gandhi. I consider myself part of every world religion that reduces suffering. So the ones I know about are like the 6 world religions now. So it's Judaism, Christianity, and Islam in the West, and Taoism, Buddhism, and Hinduism in the East. So I can consider myself Muslim. I consider myself a Christian. I consider myself a Buddhist. And really, like, I was critical of, funnily enough, I think I still agree with 80% of my atheist self, my 16-year-old atheist self. Really, the big issue I had was when I was 16 is people who took the Quran or the Bible literally. Like, there's the stories of like talking snakes and this guy and a whale, or like in Quran there's like a flying horse. Yeah, you definitely shouldn't take it literally, and neither do they really intend to take it literally. And because of that, like, you expect me to believe in all this like bullshit? Hell no. How it's not like science. So I thought it was like illogical and unscientific. Until I sort of like read more books about religion, and I found out, okay, actually, firstly, you as great as Jesus and Buddha is, they're not right about everything. Even that's a problem of like calling Jesus God. I think he was just like human, but it's like, okay, they were very ahead of their time, but it's like they're still like subject to biases and mistakes. And most notably with Jesus, okay, there's this thing where what's it called? You can't get a divorce until your partner commits adultery. Oh yes, yeah, there are not any other good reasons for divorce. Like the guy's an alcoholic, the guy's like physically abusive. Stupid fucking advice that people still take literally to this day. So yes, I can disagree with some things of the Bible, and I don't have to take things literally. And I think really to really consider yourself a Christian, more so than believing in this stupid stuff like, okay, Jesus is the name of the Father, like is the Trinity or whatever, which is like ridiculous. The most important thing is believing in the teachings of the original founder of each religion, Jesus in Christianity, Muhammad in Islam, and really following that in your day-to-day life. It's less so going to church and whatever, and more so about how you incorporate that. And so specifically with Christianity, the big thing that differentiates Christianity from other religions is this concept of loving your enemies. Because loving somebody that you already love, that's nice, that's easy. Anybody can do that. But loving your enemies, loving people who hate you, who, in my case, sent you to prison, who some people even want me dead. It's obviously not a romantic love, but sort of a love that, showing still a respect, where I really don't wish harm on you. I do not hate you. And it is really through my actions that I think will reduce your suffering. Because I want you to be happy. I want my enemies to be happy. And it really is like your continued hatred and intolerance to me is what's causing you that suffering. And I do pray for you. And I think my love will at least alleviate that to some extent. And also the fact that I feel like we are not just like disparate like physical parts separate from one another in like a in a strictly scientific sense. We are all connected, and so your suffering is connected to me, and so my haters too, they are connected to me. They're my brothers, and I genuinely do hope that even Lawrence Wong, Lee Hsien Loong, who would really, I think, probably wish that I was like sent to prison and dead or whatever, I really do hope that their hearts will change. And yeah, and yeah, it's teachings like this in religion that really has benefited my life and made me a happier person, and I think will benefit all of society. And yeah, my views on religion have really changed, and religion has brought me tremendous benefits and value to my life.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, like, I can't even say that was like a Miss Universe speech, but like that was amazing. No, thank you for sharing that.
Oh, appreciate it.
No. Like, it felt that like you said something like genuinely real right there, and yeah, no, I want to thank you for sharing that. And
When have I said things that aren't real?
well, that's not for me individually to decide. That's for the world to decide, and that's actually part of your legacy, which is being built even as we speak. But this then brings me actually to the last question for today. So right now, you can like have a look right now at this guy, and again. So like this guy again, right? So like whether you would like it or not, you are living in the world he left behind. So then like when you think about that world and you think about what you want right now in this moment to change in that world, what would you say that like that thing is? If you could leave like one change, like right now, you have infinite power, like what would you do?
Just one change?
Yep, just one change.
Ooh, that's really just a country that's more free and more happy.
Sure. Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. There are many steps to take, pushing for legislation for freedom of speech, a reduced cost of living. But yeah, the society that Lee Kuan Yew created was just about functionality and doing your job, fulfilling your role in society. It's incredibly cold, it's incredibly dehumanizing, and it's enough for you to like pay the bills and survive, but just to survive. But we're not animals just meant to survive. I think we, have developed a level of consciousness where leading that kind of life is just depressing. What we should do is crave for more, to really push yourself to your full potential in whatever avenue. It could be sports, it could be sports, could be art, whatever. To develop good, long, sustaining relationships. Relationships that aren't just functional. Like, okay, I marry you, I get a HDB, I got a son, we all good. But really, relationships that truly transform you. That it can be tumultuous, but it's truly life affirming and shows you who you really are. And so experiences like that, I don't think Singaporeans even have even experienced much or any of that, and don't even really might not even know. Maybe conceptually they might understand a little bit, but not experientially. And just to tell you, I think once you get a taste of it, then you'll see why I'm so passionate about sharing that to everybody, because I think that that is the happiness that you secretly crave for and that you should have.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And that was my last question for you, but I thought I would show you also that we were discussing you in a chat group, as perhaps you know that people do discuss you in chat groups, and I thought I'd show you a couple of fun things. First of all, there's a picture that my friend created featuring you. And second of all, I'll show you the thing first. Famous Amos. Yep. So that features you right here. But I responded by creating a fortune cookie, since not your average cookie, right? This was created in ChatGPT. It was generated with AI. Amos Yee, welcome home. You've walked through fire and speak your truth still. In the lion's land you return to, not to be silenced, but to surprise them. Your next chapter won't be written in exile, but in purpose. Watch closely, the comeback is just beginning. And that's the fortune cookie.
Wait, you wrote that?
No, that was generated with AI.
Okay.
I asked ChatGPT to just compile everything that it knows about you and your journey back to Singapore and also the whole prison thing, and then ChatGPT came up with that right there. So then it's an AI generated fortune cookie just for you. All right,
cool.
Thank you so much, Amos. It's been a pleasure. Oh yeah, and I guess like, do you have any like last words that you want to share with like the audience or with the world?
Surprisingly, cordial. Conversations with Lee Kuan Yew fanboy, and I hope that there will be more conversations like that. I feel like really the media hasn't even like talked to me or even given me a chance to speak. And I'm totally willing to just like talk to other podcasters or other YouTubers about my experience, and so I think that's important. So I think people want to judge me, they can, and they could, even hearing all of this, they could still disagree with me. But hopefully they judge me with what actually happened to me. Hopefully they know that, okay, at least like, just a small example with like the pedophile stuff, that I didn't actually even rape or even met the girl. I just like exchanged nude pictures with this 14-year-old while I was like 20, which, you might still think is illegal, but like it was consensual. She wasn't pressurized to do it. So you can still hate me for that, but at least know the truth before judging me.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, supports from across the world, that was Amos Yee. Thank you, Amos. It was a pleasure. And God bless you. And since it's Easter next week, so then go to church. It's the most significant time of the Christian calendar. All right then.
Definitely.
So thank you and have a great one ahead.
All right. Take care, Victor.
Bye, Amos.
So yup, that was my chat with Amos Poops. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That's all I have to say about that. And bye.